Hey everybody, thanks so much for viewing this video. If you're receiving this, then you have shown interest in being a writer or editor or curator for DemCast, and just wanted to say thank you. I mean, it's we think of writing and curation of writing and digital content as a form of activism. Um, It's not how people usually think of it, but but we do. And, it's really, just like writing postcards to voters or text banking or something, if you can write something that resonates with someone and changes their minds um, about their political beliefs or just motivates them to vote or get involved, then that's a huge deal, and we need as much of that as we can get right now. So thank you for raising your hand and being interested in helping us put out high quality digital content. So just as some background, DemCast is a 501c4 nonprofit organization. We're a social purpose nonprofit, so we are really devoted to making sure that grassroots voices can influence the national narrative and narrative at the state level. We do that via a combination of both supporting digital media creators, whether that's podcasters or writers or video creators or graphic artists, helping them to produce their material and have it published someplace, including our website, demcastusa.com. So that's one piece of what we do, but the other piece is really the social media amplification side. So it's making sure that if there's high quality digital content getting created, that it's getting seen by people, and that it's making the rounds on social media, that people are engaging with it. And so we have a digital army that we're drafting and creating and supporting, that helps to share effective media and strategic messaging in all 50 states across the country. So that's what we do, and like I said, the production of digital media it's a really big piece of that, and it's actually the where I come to this work from personally, because I'm a writer, and that's how I got into activism, is by trying to persuade people with my words and get them involved and help them to see the light, post Trump. So really excited that you're all interested in engaging in this, and the purpose of this video is to just give you an overview of DemCast, like I've done, and but also just share kind of the process and what we're expecting to do over the next few months, but also into the future as well. So I'm actually going to share my screen right now and show you. Hang on. Show you a survey that we've created, that some of you actually may have already filled out. And thank you if you have, but if you haven't, then we can get it to you. But this survey is for people who are interested in helping to support the sort of written word activism. And So I'll just walk you through it here. So there's a spot for your email address, your first name and your last name, just so we know who you are. If you're on Twitter, you can include your handle there. If you have come to us through our Focus 14 program, then you can say which states you have adopted, or maybe you live in that state, but just which of our 14 states you have adopted. And if you haven't heard about or seen our Focus 14 program yet, go to demcast.com/focus14, and it'll walk you through sort of what we're trying to do there. This first section here talks about the 5 key ways that we are looking to get folks involved. It's not all inclusive. There are other ways that people can be involved in this process, but these are the kind of the big buckets that we're looking at. Number 1 there is research and curation. So sometimes you don't actually have to create media because it's already out there. Or, sometimes you don't have to report on a story because somebody else has already covered it. But we can't amplify that content if we don't know it's out there. So, and there's so much information out there. There's so many websites. There's so many, blogs and sources for information. So, one thing that we're looking to do is create a curation team who is out there really just kind of like scouring the web and looking for digital artifacts, videos, and articles that tell the story the way we want it to be told, and that are fact-based and truthful. These curators would share links to those articles with our central team, and then we would get those digital artifacts out to our amplifiers so that they can amplify them. So again, sometimes you don't have to create it. Sometimes it's just out there. So that's a important thing that we're trying to foster. And if you have more of kind of a research, or if you really if you're a voracious reader and you love just going out there and trying to find material, and if you've adopted a state, say Florida, you can really try and narrow in on Florida blog sites and independent news sites and just monitor those and really just try and turn stuff our way so that our amplifiers get a chance to see it. Number 2 is writing. That's a big category. I'm actually going to kind of gloss over that right now because there's a whole section down below about writing, but that's another key way that people can be involved. Editing, when obviously we focus on grassroots content, so it's going to run the gamut. There's going to be some great stuff and some other stuff that gets submitted. So, we need to have a team who's looking at the incoming content and making sure that it's meets our editorial guidelines, that it's sort of pro-blue and, of high quality. So that's reviewing content for both copy and for content. Another thing that kind of flows from that is fact checking. So, if you're maybe less of a copywriter, but you really like to kind of dig into information, this could be a really good role for you, where we want to make sure that claims that are made and anything that is written on the site has backup evidence for it. that people aren't just making claims that are unfounded. It's really important for, well, just for because we want to be truthful, but also because, you know, we want people to trust DemCastUSA.com as a source for information. And if we're slipping in that area, then people aren't going to keep coming back to us. So it's a really important thing. And then the fifth area of where people could sort of carve out a niche with us is just on the posting. So you know, our back end is WordPress, and if you have any WordPress background or just web posting background and you feel really comfortable in that area, that is definitely, like, we have a lot of content that flows through the sites, and we can really use more people who get how to put stuff up there and get it posted with the kind of with an SEO lens. So if that means something to you, then maybe you're somebody who could help out in that regard. So those are the 5 key kind of content roles. So that down, as we scroll down here, based on the description above, which role or roles interest you most. So you can, I mean, you can click all 5 if they really do all interest you, but I think what we're looking for here is like what most interests you out of those 5 roles, like what kind of feels like the best fit. And then we have an opportunity here for you to describe your background and why you feel like it's a good fit based on what you selected. This next section is, as promised, more about the writing role. So, you know, we, outside of stuff that we're curating, you know, we want to make sure that that we've got really good content on our site that could then be amplified via our social media amplification network. We do cross post with some other sites, with Hill Reporter and with the Courier News Network, which is a progressive news network, and that has a presence in probably about half of our Focus 14 states, and produces really great content. But they're really interested in our grassroots writers contributing to stuff to their site. You know, there's some real benefit to that because those are state-specific websites, and they're traveled by state-specific people and readers. So, you know, there's some real opportunity for impact there as we're heading toward the election. So here are some different ways that you can, or different types of content that you can share with us. The first one here is campaign coverage. So, you know, I mean, effectively, this is like a campaign correspondent. It's somebody who's tracking campaign events and fundraising and you know, all the sort of ins and outs of a specific campaign or multiple specific campaigns. You know, I think we can potentially, we have centrally, we have good connections throughout, you know, all the states that we cover, and can potentially help connect you with like people like campaign managers and candidates if you want to do interviews with them, if you're interested in this space. You know, a note here that we wrote is if you are sometimes it's great to cover the Democrats or the progressives, or, you know, whoever, so the folks on the left. But if you know, sometimes it's just really fun to really just shine a spotlight on what the Republicans are up to. So that definitely falls into the category of campaign coverage too, because, you know, if you know, if there's a there's a Republican who's, you know, in all kinds of campaign finance trouble or something like that, and the Democratic opponent is making statements about it, you know, that's great stuff to cover. The second one there is issues. So if you are less interested in necessarily focusing on a certain race, but more focusing on a certain issue and using that lens to cover the state that you're focusing on, you know, that's great. So if you're immigration focused or gun violence or climate change focus, you know, that's you know, those are really important perspectives and analyses to share, and can help move voters. So that's great. The third one there is persuasive writing. That's actually kind of where I come from. It's really about crafting an argument and bringing people along. So if you can if you can make the argument to a specific sub population that they should vote, or that they should vote for a certain person, or that they should you know, go out and protest, or whatever it is that you're trying to convey, and actually move them to do so. That's a special talent. We want to help amplify that. The fourth one there is grassroots coverage. So sometimes it's not the candidate specifically or a specific issue, but just, you know, maybe there's an organization in one of our 14 states that's really focused on helping to get African Americans out to vote, and you know, shining a spotlight on that, interviewing Black voters in the state. How has this organization impacted you? You know, that can really help to drive donations. It can help to drive interest. It can help to drive volunteerism for those really crucial organizations. So, you know, I think, and likewise, just I think, you know, pieces that cover volunteerism generally, and just talk about what people are doing and how it impacts them personally and how it impacts the community, can really be motivating for people and help them want to engage more in the democratic process. So that's a big bucket there. That's very important. And the last one we have is explainers, which is really just you know, more sort of informational pieces about, like, here's how you vote in North Carolina. Here are your options. Or these are the laws, you know, governing such and such in Texas. If you want to influence these laws, then here are the contact numbers for the Texas state legislature, you know. So, you know, informational pieces that don't necessarily have a political lens laid on top of them can be really useful, both as just like source pieces or you know, things that we should amplify, but also as documents that we can send around and reference in other writing that's being done for that particular state or issue. So definitely you know, those are the five, but those definitely aren't the only options for writing with us. And, you know, we're open to anything that you might want to write about, that's, as long as it's you know, we don't want to engage in the circular firing squad on the left. So, you know, if you're trying to take aim at you know, a Democrat who's been in office for a really long time, or if you're wanting to talk about what the Biden campaign is doing wrong, or those kinds of, that's just not this kind of stuff that we want to publish. It's not that you're not right to have that opinion and respect that opinion, but that's not the purpose of what we're trying to do here. So as long as it fits in our general editorial guidelines, we're definitely open to ideas for what you might want to write about. So here we ask you, which of these appeal to you, and then any specifics about your background or expertise that you have that that relate to the things that you've chosen. Here we're just asking what your background is, like whether you've done professional writing in the past, whether you've done sort of amateur writing, or whether you're just kind of like wanting to give it a try. All of those are great, and we'll take submissions from anybody. But it just helps to give us an idea of kind of where you're starting from. This is an opportunity for you to share links if you have published things in the past. That's helpful for us, just to give us a sense of your style. And then this is just random, whatever questions or comments you might have after having gone through this and thought through your responses. So that's the questionnaire. It's helpful if you can fill this out and really sort of think about what you're most interested in, what you really want to do, what your real skill set is. The more honest you can be in the filling out of this survey, the better we'll be able to connect you with opportunities that are going to resonate with you and produce good content. So I'm going to share my screen. So I guess some of the last things to think about here are just logistics. After you submit your survey, we will get back to you. We're building a sort of management team around content right now, and we're excited to sort of bring people into the fold. So you can expect to hear from us pretty soon. And we organize ourselves in a program called Basecamp. If you haven't used Basecamp before, it's basically like a project management program. It's web-based. There's an app as well if you're more of a mobile person. And so we may, particularly if you're doing more of the like curation, editing, fact checking, we'll probably bring you in there just because that's sort of more back-end coordination work. So we work at a Basecamp. We can also just work with you via email, particularly if you're a writer. If you are writing, the ideal is that you'll actually go into the back end and work WordPress and post, or at least submit your content via that medium in WordPress itself. So we don't have to do a translation from a Google Doc or a Word file. But it's not required, so we can work with you individually on that if you're not comfortable doing that. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to connecting with all of you and working with all of you. I think this is really important work. It's one of the reasons that we created DemCast, was to provide this opportunity for people to share their views, express themselves via written word, and amplify that, and have that amplified by people in our movement. So we will we'll be in touch. So go ahead and fill out the survey, and then we'll go from there. Looking forward to connecting with you.